Welcome to Community Voices with your host, Terrence Lachey. This radio roundtable features community, business, and religious leaders that discuss current events and topics that impact our urban community. If you would like to be a guest or if you have a suggested topic, contact the station today at 616-259-7342. Now, into the program.
Hey, welcome back to another edition of Community Voices. I'm Dr. Terrence Lachey, and we've got in the studio today Darius Quinn and Stephanie Hernandez from Kent County, and we're going to be talking all things Kent. They're going to talk a little bit about the resources that are available, but then human resources is what we're going to focus in on, maybe some job opportunities. So if you're just tuning in or you know somebody who might be interested in this subject or topic of employment, this would be the broadcast episode for them. So we're going to just jump right in. Darius, we go a long way back, and you're not a stranger to the station here on 91.9. How long has it been since we were here last or talked?
Oh, wow. It's maybe 6 years, six plus years ago.
We were talking about the Conventions Bureau, though, or Conventions Services.
The Convention Arena Authority at that
Authority,
time.
yeah. But since then, you've dug your heels in deeper with HR and those things, and then you brought along a friend.
Yeah, a longtime friend of 25 years, my friend and colleague, Stephanie Hernandez.
Yeah.
One of our human resources managers along with myself.
Terrific. Yeah, I have an opportunity to be involved somewhat with the county doing some training, and it's always a privilege. It seems like things are running really smooth for Kent County. But bring us up to speed on some of the newest things that are happening. Of course, Stephanie will integrate into the conversation your passion for this work and how you really love helping I say a quasi-government organization. And the reason why, because it's almost human services plus governmental resources together, right?
Absolutely.
Give me the background, the history, and the 411, as they would say.
All right. Well, we'll do our best. Stephanie and I, we joined the organization back in 1999. So fast forward 25 plus years later, we both are here and remain committed to public service. You talked about some of the newer aspects of what's happened in county government. Within, would you say, maybe the last 5 months or so, we just brought on a new Kent County department in our Office of the Public Defender.
Nice.
Just being headed up by a wonderful team. Some of the more temporary things that are taking place is the temporary relocation of our animal shelter over off of Michigan. And I was just informed earlier this week that those folks are getting their building remodeled, and they should be back in, I guess, within a month or so.
Sure.
But again, we remain committed to the mission of serving the residents and those who visit us here in Kent County.
And it's a huge, huge footprint in West Michigan. Kent County covers multiple cities.
Yeah, I used to know this. 19 townships, what was it, 19?
9 cities, 5 villages, and 21 townships.
9 cities, 5 villages, 21 townships. Stephanie, that'll be a great place for you to segue. How long have you been with the county, and what exactly do you do there?
So I've been with the county just over 25 years, and Darius was talking about how he and I go way back. In 1999, I was actually his first hire.
Wow.
So we've been working together
We
in
all
the
make
HR
mistakes.
department. Yes.
It seems to be
Some days are
working
better
out.
than others.
And you stayed, right?
Yes, I did. I absolutely love working for the county. When I look at the amount of services that the county provides, it really amazes me.
It is amazing. Everything from parks and recreations to, the elections bureaus to all kinds of
Health,
things.
sheriff.
The court systems. Yeah.
You had an opportunity earlier today, in fact, to interact with
I did.
a number of those folks.
At least 4 of the departments
Friend
were.
of the court.
Yeah,
and
yeah. They were all
Environmental
there.
health. I'll keep our inside joke about the friend of the court.
The friend of the court. Yeah, it's an oxymoron, right?
Yeah. But they do great work.
They do a great job, and it's a necessity, I suppose. It's just like the health department. There's lots of things with the health department. You mentioned the animal shelter. The Humane Society and the animal shelter are not the same organizations.
No, and actually,
Talk about how they differ.
Actually, we have a couple of different ways that work is spread out. One aspect is the animal control.
Sure.
Animal control now is out of the Kent County Sheriff's Office, and those are the folks who, when you pick up the phone and you have a stray dog or a stray animal,
Or a herd of deer.
herd of deer.
In your front yard?
Well, I think the herd of deer.
Department of Natural
approaching
Resources?
Yeah, we're approaching that in a different aspect.
Yeah.
There is actually a study taking place.
Well, the reason why I say that is because every time I come out of the church parking lot in the night, you got all these eyes looking at me, and it's not people. It's a herd of deer, you know.
I'm advocating to leave our dear friends alone. Right?
Yes,
Right.
they don't bother me, so
No
I don't
pun
bother them.
intended.
If anything, they're watching me get my car safe. That's what it is. But think about the county covering so many different bases, human services as well as those resources that are available to taxpayers, residents. What's your passion? I know HR is your thing because that's why you guys are here today. But what's your passion about these departments and what the county offers?
Yeah, for me, I think it really boils down to just an overall quality of life, right? So when you talk about, and I know that there have been studies about Grand Rapids and so forth, but the quality of life that we're afforded, right, and all of the partnerships that the county is involved with, even from you talk about the zoo, you talk about the airport, the Convention Arena Authority, Experience Grand Rapids, just the overall quality of life from healthy park systems and the ability to jump on an airplane,
Sure.
without too much hustle and bustle, without, jumping on, different railways to get to your plane. I mean, that, in some respects, it's small and quaint, but I also believe that it contributes to an extremely high value of quality of life here in Kent County. So,
Yeah.
Passion, I think there are just so many, from the community engagement that we get involved with, making sure that our law enforcement communities, for example.
Because the jail, county jail.
The jail, the prosecutor's office. I know a lot of people, when they think about the prosecutor's office, they think of that. That's the person who locks people up. But it's also the people or the folks who stand up for our rights, right?
Sure. Or try to exact judgment,
Absolutely.
righteous judgment, hopefully.
So I won't talk too much.
Well, here's a segue. How is the prosecutor's office and the public defender's office both under county oversight? How does that work?
That's a great question, and
Yeah.
it was met with some resistance. So to acknowledge that there are opinions on both sides, whether that should occur, but that decision was made, right?
Sure,
That
sure.
decision was made, and I think they are able to operate under one roof, not figuratively, but under the county umbrella, while maintaining and being, sincere to their individual missions, right?
Yeah, the charge.
Whether that's the prosecution and the defense. So
Well, that speaks volumes, though, if there can be some peaceable and fair actions in both of those offices that happen to be a service provided to the residents of this county. And between the two, if you're 50 years between the two, 25 and 25, what have you seen in the way of progress regarding our county services?
I think the county has been very good about forward-looking and trying to figure out the needs of the population and how, as a county, we can use our resources to better that quality of life within the county. I think we've been really lucky to see and be involved in a lot of different things.
Yeah, and we're a growing county, from what I understand.
We are.
You guys got some stats? You know anything about those numbers?
yeah, I think well over 700,000. When Stephanie and I started, we were in a training last week and we talked about this number. I think when we started, we were right around 498,000. Don't hold me to that number. Well over 700,000 right now. So with that also
In
comes
25 years, that's good
25
growth.
years, but
Consistent.
also comes growing pains, right? The need for additional housing, affordable housing, housing of all types. And again, just being a community that is in demand. Folks want to come here to work, live and play. So
Yeah.
we are experiencing some of those growing pains, and from a county perspective, we're doing what we can to help ease, those pains.
Sure. Let's just dig a little deeper. Your role, Stephanie, your role with the county.
So in my role, I oversee the employment recruitment team. So we do the hiring. We work with the departments and hire for all of the 26, 27 different county departments. So we were talking about some of those services earlier, from the sheriff's office, prosecutors, public defender, public works. Veteran services, we are involved in all of those hires.
Sure.
So that's why I oversee that function.
Terrific. And so when it comes to hiring, you do a recruitment, a job fair. How do people, get to work for the county?
So what we do is we do a combination. All of our applications need to go through our website, which is kentcountymi.gov/jobs. Those jobs are updated every Friday, so positions close on Friday, and then as well as the new positions will go out. So what you would do if you were interested is you would apply for one of those positions. Then there is an interview process, and that would be sometimes it's with HR and the hiring manager. Sometimes Human Resources will do a brief screening interview first.
Before sending them to the hiring manager to
Sometimes, not always though.
scrutinize. How
We
many
do a
people?
lot of panel interviews.
I was going to say, how many people are involved in that process?
Generally speaking, anywhere from 2 to 4.
Sure.
as a
Great. So
general.
it's not a long process. So if somebody's looking, are there positions available right now?
There are. We have, it's getting nicer. It's very sunny out today. It's not as warm as what it looks, but we're in the process of hiring for our seasonal parks workers. Mm-hmm.
And that's to prepare the parks for summer use?
Correct.
Spring and summer use? Yeah.
Yes, and our peak season is from end of May through beginning mid-September, but we do have some individuals that will work longer. It's also getting to be that time where there's a lot of festivals and things, so we're also hiring for a food sanitarian.
Okay.
So those individuals go into the restaurants and different festivals and are making sure that the food is safe. In our HR department, we also have a couple of openings. I actually have an opening on my team for a talent acquisition specialist, so that person will be hiring all those positions within the county that we just talked about. And then we also have a part-time technician level position in our retirement services.
Oh, that's great. You mentioned a website, and we'll mention it again throughout the discussion. We've got a little bit of time to talk. But if somebody is trying to check it out right now, where should they go?
They should go to kentcountymi.gov/jobs.
/jobs. Great. All right, Darius, back to you.
All right.
Tell us what you do and what you've done over these 25 years.
My job isn't as exciting as Stephanie's. Not today, but over the last 25 years, I've worked in every area of the department, every area of HR, from being an employment and recruitment specialist, hiring Stephanie into our department, working in our benefits and compensation arena, as well as our retirement services arena. Worked in the training environment. In fact, part of my career was being sent out to the airport to serve as an on-site human resources administrator. A bulk of my job was spent in the DE&I arena until about 4 or 5 years ago. So today my role exists to serve primarily as employee relations and labor relations, supporting those functions. So in the county, we have 9 different bargaining units. So as you might, or unions, right? Mm-hmm. So as you might imagine, there's a lot of maintaining files as it relates to grievances and participating in various quasi-judicial hearings.
Negotiating contracts and that
Negotiating
type of thing.
contracts, right along with Stephanie being right there, and also, fielding a lot of internal complaints, that fortunately we're able to resolve with minimal effort. But yeah, that's what I spend a lot of my time doing right now.
Dealing with people problems, right?
My first HR director said, human resources would be so much easier without the humans.
Exactly. Well,
I don't believe that.
In the session today, I was doing some stuff on navigating change, and it was a pretty good population of leadership there, as well as employees. And I shared this. I said, one thing I found that we all have in common is that we're all human, and that humans are humans, right? Humans are being, not we're just humans being. But
sir.
we're in the process of getting better. What are some of the challenges that you face? I know that the DE&I space is now being redesigned, redeveloped, recalibrated, and in some cases just taken away, removed. So how are you navigating that space in the role that you're in?
Yeah, not much in my role, but, we are, as an organization, taking a look at, what does training look like? How is DE&I, what role does it play within the organization as it exists today? And not from a place of lack of commitment, but in many aspects, an act of compliance, right? So that is something that we're currently taking a look at, right now. And I would imagine over the next several months, we'll see how everything sorts out.
Yeah. I guess we can expect to see that there's going to be some adjustments with federal guidelines being shifted, corporate as well as governmental, programs being completely annihilated or being wiped out. What's the county's commitment to maintaining those equitable opportunities as well as inclusion?
It's a fine line, right? It's you look at our personal commitments, and then you look at what the courts might have to say about these programs and initiatives, and we expect to see more in the coming months as to what's expected. But as always, when you're talking about funding and how that impacts individuals, their families, and their lives, you also have to be mindful of taking those items into consideration as well. So, not skirting around the subject, but it's been very difficult for
Sure.
the past 25 years. Stephanie and I have worked our way to build up to a diverse, equitable, and inclusive work environment, and now we'll just have to reimagine what that looks like.
Yeah, and then maintain your own personal ethics and values. How do you want to weigh in on
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
Because EEO and DEI, all of those have evolved over time. And since you guys have had 25 years in, you've seen that evolutionary process. How are we doing, our county?
Yeah, I like to think we're doing very well. There was a time, and I share this quite openly, when, Stephanie and I first began at the county where, we had a little more rifts, we had a little more turmoil. And with some of the folks that we've been able, to bring into the organization, allies, and of course, today with our working with our county administration, we've been able to make some significant strides, right? Specifically as it relates to community engagement, removing barriers to services, getting our departments to become more accessible. It will be not uncommon. The street that we're on right now, there's an annual street fair. I don't know if it's
Correct.
okay to.
It's called Rock the Block.
We're here as well as several
Yeah.
county departments, and we're just lined up, year after year, making sure that, we.
And then there are the commissioners as well in the city. Well, let's talk about the city too, because I think there's some interfacing that takes place. I know you share a municipal complex with the city of Grand Rapids, but there's probably some joint work and efforts to make things flow smooth. There's 9 cities, right?
Yeah, yep.
So,
Grand
Grand
Rapids
Rapids.
being one, right? Not much. The work that City Manager Washington is doing, and specifically Brandon Davis and his team, we are aware. But I always liken the government to Ford and GM, right? We both make government.
Everybody's making cars, right?
Yep. But we don't make the same type of government.
Sure.
Right? We have different lanes, if you will. But as far as collaboration, we get along fine in that space.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I've only heard good things about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These are some good questions.
Hey, I do what I can. No, my role really is to just instigate conversation that helps to inform as well as inspire people to celebrate, but then also address real issues. If there's some things it's not unknown to us that there are some challenges in our country right now. And so, having your people come and talk, having yourselves here is a good opportunity to ask some of the questions. I try to think about that person sitting at home washing dishes and listening to the radio, or maybe somebody driving in their car listening as they're in between, in their lunch break. And then there's also the YouTube followers, those who, just kind of sit and watch YouTube
Sure.
after YouTube after YouTube. So what would you want those listeners to know? What would you like to share with them?
As we're sitting here, there is one department that I think it's safe to say is near and dear to both Darius and my
Right?
heart.
You want to highlight them?
It was a department that when I started at the county and started interviewing, it was one of the first places that I spent any time at, and that's really our juvenile detention center.
Okay.
So we have quite a large staff that is in the detention center every day working with the youth that are there day in, day out, making sure that they're cared for, trying to get them information and help them make better choices so that when they're back out in the community, they can be successful.
Sure. Now, the Youth Detention Center is located near the complex, the Fuller complex as well. Am I correct?
Yes, right on Cedar Street.
Yeah. So there's some changes going on over there. You got some construction and reimagining happening with the health department.
On that campus, there is. So when you talk about what's new, it's anticipated in 2 to 3 years that many of the downtown 300 Monroe functions will shift and move over to the Fuller campus.
Okay.
And, lots of moving pieces. Some of the folks at 82 Ionia would be moving over to, at least that's in the cards, I believe. But that's more of a function of our county
So
administrator.
the footprint of that complex is just kind of expanded a little bit.
Yeah.
There is some revamping of the health department right now
There
as
is.
well, so they've had to shift some services while that building is being renovated on the inside.
Yeah.
Make it more usable, a little bit easier for customers to access.
Access, yeah. I think that's always good. And it's good to see your dollars at work, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I do want to circle back to that DEI conversation.
Sure.
As dangerous as that is, right now.
Volatile, we call it volatile,
Yeah,
right?
it is. And, and it's not a topic that we are avoiding, but it is a topic that's very sensitive right now.
Absolutely.
We are, quite honestly, right in the middle of working our way through it. What does it look like? And we'll see.
Yeah, I think many well-meaning organizations and entities, governmental and otherwise,
Public sector.
has
schools.
caught snags, and I think that we can call it what we like to call it or what we want to call it, but the bottom line is meeting the needs of people and being forthright and honest about equity.
Yeah.
We don't necessarily have to just champion letters because people get nervous about those things, but what about the mission behind people overcoming biases and overcoming stereotypes and prejudices that keep people out of the workplace or keep services, only available to a few. Those are the kinds of things that a person has to do, not a letter, not departments. And while those legally mandated orders have been there and been removed, we can go all the way back to the 1960s, about things that needed to be put in place. So I think it always boils down to individuals in leadership making the right choices and decisions.
It does, and I like to. There's a famous author who came up with a saying. I don't know that he coined it, but I like to, in a safe space, always indicate that the county and the time that I've been there, we've always valued all people.
Great. Yeah.
And as far as my commitment and Stephanie's commitment, I think we will continue.
That's
I
good.
know we will continue to value all people. So how that shakes out through executive orders and other legal actions, yet to be determined.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did want to let you know that's not something that we're avoiding. It's just
Oh, absolutely.
actively cooking right
Well, I
now.
think you responded quite well. That it's in motion, and that's
is.
for all of us. That's across the country right now, and other places around the globe as well.
Yeah, pray for us.
Yeah, you talked about your favorite, one of your heartbeats within the county, and that was the detention center. What are the other areas that you kind of have passions for as it relates to the services? Because most people, we mentioned and kind of threw out some out there, but a lot of people don't know all of the different, like the conventions, and
Yeah, those are some partners,
Defensive
active partners, but as it relates to county departments specifically, I mean, you name it, right? We have 5 different elected offices, and from our prosecutor's office, sheriff's office, drain commissioner, the county clerk, elections,
and then the executive.
Yep, from the county administration, those departments that report to county administration, 3 different court branches and circuit, district, and probate court. So, really an expansive organization providing a wide array of services. We always used to say we're the hidden layer of government, right?
Yeah, most people don't think, they think county and they're thinking small back in the day, sheriffs and, jails. That's it.
I say to you, hey, Pastor, where do you live? You may say to me, I live in the city of, you name it, the state of,
Yeah.
and in the United States of America.
Right,
Very rarely does that Kent come across.
People say
right?
county, right?
right.
Well, counties were formed long before cities were established, right? I think counties have much of the progression of first small towns,
Okay.
then counties, then cities, and municipalities, townships, villages. All of them kind of evolved
Out of the-
over time, and counties are still in place, going strong all over the world. 83 counties in the state of Michigan, from what I understand. And in those 83 counties, you've got quite a bit of services, quite a bit that people consume and utilize. What do you want our listeners to know about what's going on?
just to remain involved at the county level, right? County Board of Commissioners, all of the meeting dates are publicized on that kentcountymI.gov website. And just to know that there are resources available to support community. One of our most visible county departments, and they're doing great work not too far from here, our Community Action Agency, right? Just in terms of the services that they provide.
What exactly do they do?
And Stephanie, I'm going to ask you weigh in as well, but everything from weatherization services to forms of, utility assistance and housing assistance, at least as of today. Anything?
Food assistance, there's a senior services program.
Yep.
Is that accessible on the website as well?
Yes.
Absolutely.
The website is a nice spot to go to, right?
Yes, there's a lot of information out there for sure.
So kentcountymI.gov.
Yes.
Yeah, but Community Action Agency is located right in the Human Services Complex at 121 Franklin.
Okay.
Where a number of other, different services to help
Sure.
our community are located.
There's some state offices there as well, right?
Department of Human Services is there. I believe there's Michigan Works located there, and I'm not sure of the county.
Health and Family Services, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but I think that's another department that does a lot of work for the community, and I think over the last, several years, some of the shift has changed, I think, in public health. We have positions ranging from nurses, medical assistants, outreach workers, support staff, but I think that overall the health department, it really looks at some of those systemic issues that affect the public health overall. So it's been very interesting to see the work that they do and kind of how some of that has changed. From immunizations to education work to sanitarian work, epidemiology work. If you have an interest in those science areas or the healthcare field, we've got some great opportunities.
Great, go ahead. I was going to say continue, make the pitch, because this is an opportunity for somebody listening to get employment as well as become educated about what the county has to offer.
So the two positions, the one I've mentioned is the food services sanitarian, but we also do have a public health educator, and that position is working in the chronic disease prevention area. So that's a great mix of the education and working with chronic disease.
Sure. So there might be some students graduating in public health that might be interested in employment here in West Michigan, or there may be somebody who's working in other departments, other agencies, organizations, entities, hospitals that may want to transfer over into what the county has to offer. Yeah, other things.
Yeah, I think that pretty much summarizes what we have to offer. Really appreciate the opportunity to be back with you, and it's always a pleasure, Pastor.
Well, I'm always looking forward to opportunities to educate the community that we live and serve. It's always a privilege to be able to hear from those who've been around a while. So we'll take it completely off topic. What would you like to shout out to those who you know that are listening? We'll start with you, Stephanie.
We better go to Darius on that one first.
Go Darius first, yeah.
Just always, as we have been over the last several years, if you have questions about what's happening at the county, don't hesitate to pick up
That's
the
right.
phone.
Because you're involved in this
Shoot me an
community and
email.
people see you often.
Yeah, try to make sure that we are as accessible as possible. So if you have questions, Darius, DARIUS.Quinn, QUINN at kentcountymI.gov.
Awesome. Stephanie?
And I guess I would like people to know that the county is an absolutely amazing place to work. We have great benefits. If you're interested in working for a place that betters the community that we live in, definitely keep us in mind. And as Darius said, if you've got questions, feel free to reach out to either one of us. We'd be happy to have conversations. We, as a recruitment team, do our best to get out into the community, whether that be at some community events, like you mentioned, Rock the Block, or school, job fairs, those types of things.
So you guys do tables at events, so you can set up a booth and answer questions and give out information and help people get employed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Thank you both for being here from Kent County.
Thanks for having us.
Appreciate
Thank
the
you.
time as well as what you do to serve our community.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, take care.
You've been listening to Community Voices with Terrence Lachey on 91.9 FM, The People's Choice. Thanks for tuning in.
Been listening to Community Voices with your host, Terrence Lachey. Community Voices can be heard every Friday at 12 noon. This radio roundtable features community, business, and religious leaders that discuss current events and topics that impact our urban community. If you would like to be a guest, or if you have a suggested topic, contact the station today at 616-259-7342. Until next week, let your voice be heard in the community.